What's going on, guys? It is Travis here with the NPCs, and welcome to another weekly news roundup. It is December 2nd, 2022, and tonight we will be talking about Nintendo canceling the agreement for Smash World Tour without warning. We'll get into all the juicy details about what's going on behind the scenes in the Smash competitive world. We'll also be talking about the second Mario Bros. Trailer dropping and all the details that we find out coming up in the blockbuster movie that features Mario, at least the first one since the 90s. And of course, we'll also be talking more about Nintendo and how they apologize for the performance issues with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and what they're going to be doing to try to address some of those issues. Going to roll our intro and then we'll get things started. And of course, we are live, we are up, we are running. Welcome everybody again, as always, to the Weekly News Roundup. I am Travis, of course. That's Kyle over there via Discord. What's going on, Kyle?
Oh, Nada, what's up?
Dude, it has been a kind of a light week in news. I think you were even saying that to me too. It's like we've been seeing some interesting stuff, but it's been rather Nintendo heavy, hasn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I'm all the Pokemon news just blowing up after the release, and then of course the Direct, and then some big news about Nintendo Ninjas. So yeah, all sorts of Nintendo stuff this week,
Yeah, it
but
really
not a lot
has.
of other.
Yeah, and so of course I'm wearing, I know you can't see it from your side, but I got my Super Mario shirt on here just by chance. So at least I'm set and ready to talk about Mario stuff. So let's just talk about the House of Mario. We'll just jump right into it with the first story in here, and that is about the Nintendo shutting down the Smash World Tour without warning. So Smash World Tour is a separate third-party organization or a separate third-party event that is specifically for Smash Brothers tournaments, whether it's the classic Smash Brothers or a lot of Melee, even all the way up. I mean, it's literally every single title out there gets played at this, but only a few get featured on the main stage. So they were in prep for getting ready to do their event for 2022. And unfortunately, they ended up getting requested or being told by Nintendo to shut everything down. And again, just like it says there, is just without any warning whatsoever. So a lot of the information that's coming out here was reported on by Kotaku, and we're referencing an article here from The Verge on this. But what they went in to talk about is, I guess, the note here from Smash World Tour says, let's see, where is it? In 2022 alone, we connected over 6,400 live events worldwide with over 325,000 in-person entrants, making the Smash World Tour the largest esports tour in history for any game title. The championships would also have had the largest prize pool in Smash history at over 250,000 US dollars. So that tournament was set to take place on December 9th and go through the 11th, so literally this next week. However, they received notice the night before Thanksgiving from Nintendo that says they are no longer allowed to use any of their properties, which basically shuts everything down and nullifies all of it and just says you can't do this anymore. And they had to go ahead and shut down. What it looks like in the news, though, specifically with this, is that it could be potentially tied into a partnership that Nintendo made, I guess, earlier this year with a esports brand known as Panda. And I had never heard of them before, Kyle. Maybe I'm out of the esports space too much. Like I focus like on CS:GO and Overwatch, but I don't really pay attention to the Smash stuff or anything. So have you ever heard of Panda? Have you seen
I
any of
had
their
never
stuff?
heard of them. No.
Okay. So the rest of the stuff here goes on. At least they're talking about that it looks like Panda may have been involved in some way, shape, or form to actually get them canceled. They go on to say they made it clear that Panda's partnership was not exclusive, and they said it had not gone unnoticed that we had not infringed on their IP regarding game modifications and had represented Nintendo values well. Nintendo was being consistently straightforward, transparent, and direct in answering the team's questions at the time. So the statement they had put out there says that or at least what The Verge says here, is the statement goes on to accuse Alan Bunny, Panda CEO and co-founder, of sabotage, claiming he discouraged Smash World Tour 2022 tournament organizers by falsely informing them that the event was being shut down and that any events that participated in the Panda Cup would not be allowed on the Smash World Tour. So whatever's going on here behind the scenes with Panda and this exclusivity stuff that's going on maybe has come to a head, because it's actually caused quite a stir amongst not only Smash players, competitive players, but also fans of Smash. So, I mean, before we go on to the rest of this stuff, though, what's your take on it so far, Kyle?
I mean, it's really bizarre. I had heard that there was kind of ripples or kind of waves being made at the beginning of November about this whole thing, and I wish I had found the other article that it talked about it, but basically at the beginning of November they had been, or the organization that was holding the world tour was told that they were being essentially looked into by Nintendo to make sure that everything was okay, and it seemed like everything was going to be fine, and they had gotten confirmation back that it seemed like everything that was a go for this whole thing. And I mean, it's not a small operation. The prize pool was supposed to be something like $250,000 for the champion. So I mean, it's definitely a big show. So I don't know what happened there, but then yeah, it suddenly came to a head right before Thanksgiving, and now Nintendo, acknowledges that people have been trying to make arrangements for it, but it's not like they're gonna do anything about it, unfortunately. And I know that in the past, and this may have been ammo, I guess, for Panda, because there were some, I guess, scrutinizing remarks that Panda, or some maybe even snide remarks that Panda had possibly allegedly made towards the organizers of the Smash World Tour, about, well, good luck, trying to do it without, doing this, just kind of trying to push them to say, well, we've got a thumb on this, and if you do us dirty, or do anything that offends us, we're just gonna make sure that you can't ever host any tournaments ever again, without saying it. And I guess potentially it may have all come to a head right at that day before Thanksgiving, when Nintendo did shut them down, but there hasn't been any sort of remarks or any sort of statements made from Panda or Nintendo saying otherwise, that it has been any involvement from Panda. So
Yeah, and that's
yeah,
the
it's
interesting.
kind of weird.
It is. It's the very interesting part. And so their announcement, the Smash World Tour's announcement, was posted onto Medium, and I gotta say, like, Medium just seems to be the place to go. Like, we read Mick Gordon's post about the stuff with Bethesda and ID regarding the stuff with Doom Eternal's original soundtrack and that. And now it's like, of course, now it's up here on Medium. So I've been going through it here, and I've been looking, and it looks like they were already kind of aware that something was up, because they originally submitted an application for licensing with Nintendo back in January of this year, because I
Yeah.
guess they had some really good conversations last year. They had some things really well worked out, and going into this year, they felt confident, but it took so much time to finally hear back on anything that they became skeptical of, I guess, what was happening. And it sounds like the CEO of Panda, or whoever whoever else in the Panda org may have been talking. It probably was just the CEO, based on the way these are reading so far. Not only discouraged those in the Smash World Tour, like all the different organizers and such there, but also those not even affiliated with the Smash World Tour, just other Smash tournaments and Smash organizers that were going to be doing their own separate things. And
Yeah,
so
like
it
it
seems.
was almost like they ran a disinformation campaign potentially towards people that might be coming to attend the tournament, and
Mhm.
then they were using the fact that I want to say it was clear back in like 2014 or 2016. The organizers, excuse me, of Smash World Tour were using previously net rollback code, and that was their ammo for Nintendo. So I don't know. It was like a whole disinformation campaign on so many levels, supposedly, that may have occurred.
Yeah, and that's really where all of this kind of comes to a head right now is that um we did actually receive statement from Nintendo talking about all of this, bringing it up. Let me try to find where their statement was at here. So Nintendo did actually reply back to Kotaku and did indicate to them. I'm just trying to find the statement here. So Nintendo on the 30th told Kotaku, unfortunately, after continuous conversations with Smash World Tour and after giving the same deep consideration we apply to any potential partner, we were unable to come to an agreement with SWT for a full circuit in 2023. Nintendo did not request any changes to or cancellation of remaining events in 2022, including the 2022 championship event, considering the negative impact on the players who were already planning to participate. So Nintendo here in this first comment from them, or comment in regards to this, had basically did not is saying that they couldn't have any sort of agreement. They didn't have any agreement in place for 2023, and they couldn't come to an agreement, but that they did not, or at least they're directly saying they did not ask for any sort of cancellation to happen with the 2022 event that's supposed to be happening next week. However, SWT followed up immediately after, Kyle. I don't know if you read this part,
Hmm.
but here's what they said. They said, we did not expect to have to address this, but Nintendo's response via Kotaku has been brought to our attention. So they go on to read the exact same thing I just read. And they say, we're unsure why they are taking this angle, especially in light of the greater statement and all that it contains. So they went ahead and they went off their official statement here. To be clear, we asked Nintendo multiple times if they had considered the implications of canceling the championships as well as next year's tour. They affirmed that they had considered all variables. We received this statement in writing from Nintendo shortly after our call. And this is actually a statement then that it looks like copy and pasted from an email they received from Nintendo, but it says this. It is Nintendo's expectation that an approved license be secured in order to operate any commercial activity featuring Nintendo IP. It is also expected to secure such a license well in advance of any public announcement. After further review, we found that the Smash World Tour has not met these expectations around health and safety guidelines and has not adhered to our internal partner guidelines. Nintendo will not be able to grant a license for the Smash World Tour Championship 2022 or any Smash World Tour activity in 2023. And then the SWT team goes on to say, to be clear, we did not even submit an application for 2023 yet. The license application was for the 2022 championship, which was submitted in April. Nintendo, including all 2023 activity, was an addition we were not even expecting. In our call that accompanied the statement, we asked multiple times if we would be able to continue to operate without a license as we had in years past with the same unofficial understanding with Nintendo. We were told point blank that those times are over. They followed up the call with their statement in writing, again confirming both the 2022 championships and all 2023 activity were in the exact same boat. Now, of course, this morning, Kyle, you know what? Because I keep on reading this off. Maybe it'd be fair just to drop you the link here so you can see it too. But and I'll bring this up here too for our viewers as well so they can actually see what we're looking at here from Kotaku. But here's what Nintendo went ahead and released this morning. So Kotaku had this from Nintendo at 12:15 a.m. Eastern Time, December 2nd. So yeah, literally today. Nintendo would like to explain to all Super Smash Bros. Fans and interested parties the background and rationale related to our decision to not grant a license to the Smash World Tour for their upcoming activities. Nintendo's decision was solely based on our assessment of the proposals submitted by the SWT and our evaluation of their unlicensed activities. This decision was not influenced by any external parties such as Panda Global. Any partner that we grant a license to has to meet the high standards we require when it comes to the health and safety of our fans. It's also important that a partner adheres to brand and IP guidelines and conducts itself according to professional and organizational best practices. We use this same approach to independently assess all partners. If we discover that a partner is doing something inappropriate, we will work to correct it. When we notified the SWT that we would not license their 2022 or 2023 activities, we also let them know verbally that we were not requiring they cancel the 2022 finals finals event because of the impact it would have on players. Thus, the decision to cancel the SWT 2022 was and still is their own choice. Let that kind of sit in your head there for a second. We're opening to partnering with other organizations and will continue to offer licenses for major tournaments outside of the Panda Cup. Panda Global will continue to be a key partner, and we look forward to receiving proposals from other groups for tournament licenses. In the meantime, Panda continues to advocate on behalf of the Super Smash Bros. Community, even to the point that Panda has advocated for other organizations and tournaments to work with Nintendo, such as the Big House and the organizers of the SWT, to benefit the larger Super Smash Bros. Community. And now here's the fun part. Nintendo cares about Super Smash Bros. Fans and its community very much, and we hope to continue to hear their passionate feedback. We are committed to working hard to bring joy and fun to the community through tournaments while also ensuring we and our partners are operating in a manner that is positive and responsible. So Nintendo, that's why I want you to keep that in your head, though, is that one paragraph there about the fact that they would not license anything for 2022 or 2023, and that canceling 2022 was their choice and not a Nintendo force thing, even though we've got information from SWT saying Nintendo said to shut down. Nintendo said to not do this. So
Yeah, it's almost like Nintendo poking them to say, go ahead and do it, but if you do, there's going to be legal ramifications, and we would love that.
Dude, see, that's exactly it. It's exactly it, is that it's like that. And, not only are the SWT, like the SWT group upset about where this is at, and there's not really a lot they can do, the community is rightly so upset too. And there's been comments abound in regards to what this means. And it's the fact that a lot of pro Smash players are going to basically be avoiding the circuit now. They're going to be avoiding any competitions that involve Panda. They're going to be avoiding any streams that involve Panda. They're going to be basically boycotting it as much as they can, which for a lot of these players effectively hits their livelihood, because if they mainline Smash as their competitive game, that might be a problem for them to try to adjust to some other fighter potentially, if this is where their expertise is at. So
well, and the fact that Nintendo tries to state full out that they had never submitted an application or whatever, when they had submitted an application, they had evidence of submitting an application clear back in April for the tournament to occur in December. So I mean, they had plenty of time for Nintendo to provide a proper response. And then Nintendo turns around and literally 2 weeks before the tournament's supposed to be held, tells them you can't have it, sorry. And then within I guess 5 days of that time, they're like, oh, and here's a letter saying that you just can't do it, and you can't have it next year, and if you do, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and that's why it's a little weird for them to speak up, and especially that SWT called out and said they hadn't even put together anything for their 2023 run, that they hadn't put anything.
That's another thing
now it's already been called out.
Yeah, it comes off super fishy when they say it like that. That they for their 2023, it's like, well, maybe they had decided to already abandon the Smash license at that point, because of the whole fiasco. Who's to say what the SWT organizers have decided, but I mean, for them to already state that they're not going to do it in 2023, it's like, well, were you that offended, or is someone else pulling your strings? What's going on in the background? Or is there just some sort of turmoil, in the upper echelon of Nintendo that no one knows about, that's causing this, this partnership to just break?
Yeah, it's very interesting to think about what else is going on back there behind the scenes. But this doesn't really seem as much of a surprise though for Nintendo, because they've shut down stuff like this plenty of times. They're like you said, the Nintendo ninjas, literally their lawyers, are so fast at getting in front of anything and shutting stuff down that they're pretty big about doing that. And so I don't understand.
It's just weird to me that they knew it was coming clear back in April. Why couldn't they say something in, like, I don't know, June, July? There are people that, yeah, there are a lot of players that are going to be affected by this now, and they forced SWT's hand to make a split-second decision to totally cancel the tournament, and then they turn around and say, no, no, we didn't do that. No, we're not actually saying that, but we're going to provide SWT with information that does say that.
No, exactly. That's exactly it. That they extended an olive branch, and then what ended up happening is that olive branch just basically went right
What's on
across their face,
fire?
on fire, and right across their faces.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big problem for sure. That's the key part of it, I think, that needs to be taken away from this. But as it stands right now, that's basically it at this point in time. I mean, we've got like professional players like Aiden, for example, who goes on and says, I will never attend a publicly licensed Nintendo or Panda circuit event ever again. I will continue to support grassroots, locals, and majors unaffiliated with Nintendo that have been the lifeblood of our scene for 20 plus years. And Aiden goes on to say that on Twitter. Now, I guess where this kind of leaves us at is what's next? Like, what other Smash events are going to end up getting shut down? What other gaming events are going to get shut down? Because at least from Nintendo's part, because Smash ends up being the big one. Like, I don't really see anything professional in the Mario Kart space. It'd be funny to
Eh,
actually see that.
and
But
it's so funny because a lot of the like grassroots events that he talks about, that's how people manage to get to these big events. They A lot of people, they couldn't afford it otherwise. They might have a tournament at a library that the winner gets a prize to go compete at a big tournament. And that might be their one big shot that they never would have actually ever had the opportunity to get beforehand. And now Nintendo's attacking the little guys, it feels like. Just
oh,
just from this whole thing.
oh, I
And
agree.
what's next? Are they going to attack the tournaments at libraries? Are they going to attack tournaments that are organized by, groups on Discord that do use net rollback code just because it's more simple to play online that way?
Yeah, the idea of Nintendo actually like reaching out and like shutting down, like, for example, something at say like a library, would be, man, that would be really bizarre.
Hmm.
That would be really like hard hitting, especially for like a library, for example, is one of those places that do get kids into doing stuff like this because it gets them into an environment that they're comfortable with. Um,
Hmm.
and at the same time does kind of, like you said, offer that next level though too of being able to potentially compete in something bigger. Like even our local college here has an esports team that actually has Smash players, and it's also the same with one of the guys I work with. One of his kids goes to a school here that actually, like a regular school here, I think it's one of the private ones that actually has an esports team, and he mainlines Smash. So it's like it's one of
Yeah.
those things that it's like you've got it at the local level. It's like this just paints Nintendo into a weird corner, especially if any of those kids pay attention to it. And shows like where the support is actually at. It's not from Nintendo, it is from your local stuff. So Nintendo, I don't know exactly what else we can expect out of this from Nintendo. It seems like they've said their piece, and I don't think we're going to hear anything else on it. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the rest of the industry and that looks like that, or looks with this, or at least the rest of these events look with a lot of the boycotting and such, though too, like what the user or
Yeah.
the viewer levels are at.
I don't know. I'd like to see Nintendo actually go back and say, no, we were wrong on something, like this, specifically this, but that's not a very Nintendo move. So I think right now they've made a finite decision that this is pretty much at a stop, and they're right at the moment they're working with Panda going forward, and they might say they're open to opportunity, but will or partnership and with other organizers or other groups, but we'll see how open they actually are in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in the meantime, as we wait to see exactly what's going to be happening with Nintendo, I guess we carry on to some non Nintendo news for the moment before we get back into more Nintendo news. And that is about Elite Dangerous. And the aliens are rather pissed off. So, Kyle, you happen to come across this, and I gotta say, like, I've been wanting to get Elite Dangerous for a while. Like, I want to. I've got the VR headset anyway with the Quest 2. I would love to be able to play this in VR with a Thrustmaster setup with the joystick and the throttle control to be able to, be able to actually like fly around space and potentially interact with these aliens. But what's happening? Like, why is it that they're in such a bad mood?
So, of course, this started, and we actually reported on it. I want to say it was clear back like in 2017. We reported on it. I think in 2018, 2019. But ships were getting pulled out of hyperspace in the game and randomly scanned by alien ships, and it was the first time alien ships have actually been spotted in Elite Dangerous. And I mean, this game is vast, so people have been searching for a very, very long time. And it was a whole unique animation that plays out, and you see the ship, and it's kind of like a what the heck moment. But all of a sudden, over the past couple months, these scans have been getting more and more abundant. But with the latest update, um, aliens are going to be coming into the Milky Way to attack humans.
Dun dun
So
dun.
we can expect alien attacks basically continuously over the next update, which is kind of cool. It's a little unprecedented. I think it adds a whole new aspect to the game, because this was very much a do anything, go anywhere, do anything you want type of game. If you want to be a pirate, be a pirate. If you want to save the galaxy, do your best, save the galaxy. If you want to go rescue people or deliver goods, do that too. But I mean, now it goes just beyond, warring factions. This is like all out war for humanity. So it's kind of like a whole new aspect that's really cool.
Yeah, and I like the idea of that this game is continuing to evolve, and that we're actually seeing more of it instead of just being um, instead of it just being the space exploration part that we had the alien visitors. I remember when that was announced, and it's like people were
Hmm.
like, oh, like what the hell is this thing coming out? And one person gets it up there, and then now it's evolving to the point that the alien race, the what are they called again? They're called
They're
the
called the Stargoids or Thargoids.
yeah, they
Um,
I think they were introduced as like the Thargoids there at first, and now they're called Stargoids instead, which
yeah.
apparently that the Stargoids are the one that are actually the um I guess are apparently going to be the big bad ones. So, but it seems like these battles have actually been going on already for a while anyway, though. Like that fighting them is not necessarily a new thing. Uh, but I'm excited to actually see more of this. Like, so I got a video up here. This is actually from 4 years ago from a
Hmm.
YouTuber named Berserkman 2000, and it says here in the description of the video, he says, "I snatched a Thargoid sensor at a non-human signal source, and I guess this Cyclops wanted back. I don't think it realized what it was getting into. After the battle, I investigated the remains, and apparently he's got another video that talks about it. But um, I mean,
Interesting.
yeah. So it looks like that this combat situation has been going on for a while, and it seems almost similar to like the way Eve handles some of its, or like some of the in-game stuff in Eve Online happens too. That these aliens have been just around, kind of exploring and learning and figuring things out as they come in. And they're non-hostile at first, but then they become hostile as time goes on, and now it's more like here is the larger force that's coming in to basically ruin everybody's day. So I mean, if you
Of course,
consider,
I mean, a video like this also drives the question: who was hostile first? They dropped us out to scan us, but who drew guns first in this situation? So
that's a good question. Like, is it possible that someone did attack and it actually set everything into motion, or like did it
yeah,
go
maybe
ahead and pull the
the
generic hero?
developers had a counter of how many times people uh sought out the aliens to attack them, and or once they were in a situation where they could actually fight back, did they? Instead of, or what happened that caused the aliens to be so hostile?
Exactly. Like, it makes you wonder if there could be something like that. But I mean, one could kind of hope that that would maybe have been the case, or this just could have been a planned thing, and it's just like now the aliens are bad guys, and now you're going to be the good guy, picking how you're going to handle this stuff. Can you work for like with what you can do in Elite Dangerous is like, can you be a pirate still and maybe work for the aliens? Collecting more intel or something.
Right.
Do you just get to be the good guy and have to shoot them and take them down? Is it a whole like the good guys and the bad guys of space come together to basically take down the same threat? There's not as much detail, at least, as what's going on there, but I mean, that's pretty cool though. Like, I'm stoked to see more of this.
Well, and especially in a game as vast as Elite Dangerous, I mean, if you set your your ship to basically travel to another system that's so many light years away, if you don't actually plot courses and make jump coordinates and everything, it will take you that many light years. The game is that vast, so it's crazy that something has escalated this quickly. Just in 3 years. I mean, really, really great planning on the developers' part, in my opinion.
I think so too. And like I said, it keeps on coming up on sale on Steam for me all the time. I just need to pull the trigger and just buy the damn thing. I just do.
Yeah,
I need
no,
to give this a
it's a
try.
great game. It can be overwhelming at first, but it's really cool. It can be a definite time suck for sure.
Oh, I bet. It's not like I need that anymore, do I? So I guess keep an eye out for that update to become available. It looks like it's going to be free, so you don't need to actually buy any sort of expansion or anything to access it. It will be available there in the standard Elite Dangerous release as an update, so just keep an eye out for alien attacks. But now let's move on to the next bit of Nintendo news we have, and that is the second Mario Brothers trailer. The movie trailer has released this week thanks to another Nintendo Direct, because they got to direct everything. And in this trailer, not only do we get to be introduced to Donkey Kong, we also get to see Peach. We get to see more of the Toads. We actually get our first look at Yoshi, or at least the Yoshis. We get to hear Charlie Day's voice for Luigi. And yeah, so how about if I just instead go ahead and roll the thing, and we can have that going there. Oh, I accidentally muted it there. There we go. I'm really looking forward to this movie, though, Kyle.
I actually kind of am too at this point, honestly. I mean, it looks like they've really leaned into so much of the actual Mario lore. I mean, starting out with the trailer, it looks like it's gonna be some sort of Super Smash scenario on a Donkey Kong, 1980s level, and then just so many aspects of the movie. It speaks to the original live action Super Mario movie, as well as Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, just everything Mario that has been part of the franchise.
Look at us. We're adorable.
But I do have issues still with some of the voices.
Yeah, and that's been the recurring thing through all of this, too, is that it seems like every other voice seems to fit okay, but it's Chris Pratt's Mario seems to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Even Princess Peach, and
There's a huge universe
Luigi,
out there
for me, it's kind of like,
with a lot of
I
galaxies.
hear it sometimes and I'm like, yeah, and then I hear it other times and I'm like,
They're all counting on
no,
us.
no.
No pressure.
I don't know. I'm still excited to see it. They lean heavily into the lore of basically all of the games and all of the movies, or I guess movie, and then some of the other like lesser known stuff. It looks like too. that's Mario adjacent. So I'm just really excited.
I am too, and it just seems like there is a lot of like Mario properties being crammed into this. Oh, and we got a copyright notice here on the video here too.
Oh, did we?
I gotta love YouTube's thing here. Yep, it just hit it already right there in the notes there at the or in the actual studio part here, which is funny. But
Oh.
anyway, even so, as we carry on, what's interesting though about this especially is like a couple different things. It's the amount of properties that we actually have in there from Mario, like Mario's world effectively, that not only do we see, like you said, we see like kind of a Smash Brothers vibe when we are seeing the battle with Donkey Kong there in the beginning. We're seeing it kind of has that same look though, more like the original Donkey Kong arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course we've got Mario Kart in there. I mean, that's a dead giveaway exactly what Mario Kart is. But then, instead of being this big open world or this big open environment, that we see, like, you think like a regular Mario game with all the platforming.
Mm-hmm.
The platforming part of Mario has been reduced down to what looks like a training level of some type, like a battle level of some type to get Mario ready to go fight Bowser. And obviously he's doing terrible with it. What's more curious about it though than anything is that we didn't get to hear Donkey Kong's voice in any way. We did get to see Peach, and Peach is no longer just a damsel in distress. She actually has like a halberd, and she's ready to go and start, tearing ass around everything. She's trying to make sure that Mario's aware of what is going on and try to bring him up to speed. And of course, we see Luigi is more of the damsel in distress, honestly, with everything else. He's more the one, like we saw him previously in the first trailer being chased by a bunch of what are the dry bones? That's it. Yeah, by a bunch of dry bones. We saw him.
I don't know.
Well, we saw
that
Bowser
kind of
just
leans
there.
into the Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Luigi. I feel like.
Well, the other part too is that it's like also not only what we saw in the little bit of the trailer, but also posters that came out for the movie too that got leaked that show that Mario and Luigi, just like the 90s movie, are plumbers in the real world. They're plumbers, and something happens there where they end up getting sucked into the Mushroom Kingdom, and the rest of the worlds that that exist in that environment. It seems like they kind of follow some of that, but fortunately, we know it won't be anything like the Super Mario Brothers movie of the 90s. One of the interesting things, though, that some people caught on to for the poster, I can't bring it up because every single version of it I tried to find for our show notes was all like taken down. But the movie poster showed a van that had the Super Mario Brothers logo on it. It looked more like the Super Mario Brothers game that came out for the Wii, that type of Super Mario Brothers logo. And then also it looked like it took place like the actual overworld, like real world city was like New Donk City, because someone spotted what looked to be Pauline in the background walking like either away or towards, but she was just far enough away. But you could tell with the maroon hat and the maroon dress that it looked like the Pauline from Super Mario Odyssey. So
That'd be cool. I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
just the more lore that they pull into it, I feel like it and just stay accurate to, even if it is just the more modern games, staying true to it, it just makes it that much more cool,
Yeah. And that's one of those kind of interesting things that they tried to tie all these things together. I just hope it's not too much in one go, that they're not trying to put all of their eggs into a basket compared to, say, like Sonic,
Yeah.
where Sonic, Sonic's first movie had the introduction of Dr. Robotnik before he went completely crazy. I mean, he was already a little crazy in that movie. We did see some
Right.
of like, the world that he came from. There was no mention of the Chaos Emeralds in the first movie. There was no Tails or Knuckles. There was no Amy. There was no Shadow the Hedgehog. There was no Robo Sonic or anything like that. It was literally just Sonic trying to figure out his place, and we got, some of those vibes. The second movie kind of took that next phase and introduced Knuckles and Tails, and Robotnik being more of like what we know of him from the games and such. And now the third movie is
Right.
coming out in a couple of years, and that one's going to, from what I understand, it's going to introduce Amy. We're going to see Shadow the Hedgehog as well too. We're going to see more chaos from Robotnik as well. More probably emphasis on the Chaos Emeralds. They spread things out, but with this, it just seems like, and I even was talking with someone at work about this, I wouldn't be shocked to actually see Link show up at the end of the Super Mario Brothers
Oh,
movie.
jeez.
I don't know why. I just expect it for some strange reason just to see Link appear. But
I mean, anything's possible. I kind of hope not, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'd really like them to stick to the, Mario Donkey Kong franchise. I feel like Donkey Kong might even be a little bit of a stretch because aside from the Donkey Kong arcade game, I don't feel like they're really too much the same game anymore. I mean, you got the Donkey Kong World games, or it just, I don't know. I just feel like they're too different now. But
agreed.
they
They
being
are.
together, that it's okay for the movie, but I don't want them to bring too many other Nintendo licenses into it. Like all of a sudden, bring Splatoon and Zelda and Metroid. No,
It's all a
just keep it
precursor.
with Mario.
They're
Yeah,
going to treat it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that we get the Super Mario Brothers movie first, then we get a Legend of Zelda movie, then we get a Splatoon movie, then we get
Kirby movie.
then we get a Kirby movie, and then as it all comes together, it's going to be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where the big like Avengers style movie is going to be Smash Brothers. And
I feel like that's what the Nintendo or the Sega Super game is going to be.
She's probably.
That's what they're working towards right now.
So
Just Nintendo's doing it in the shadows.
in all seriousness, though, about what they probably could introduce next was based on something that Peach had said in the trailer, is that she made a comment about multiple galaxies. Now, the idea, though, that they could branch out and that the next phase of things could involve Rosalina and say like getting into like Super Mario Galaxy territory wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say like the next step, because then that allows for more of that like growth for Mario per se, to kind of get out of that. I would like to see like maybe some stuff come out of like Super Mario World, for example, like with the Koopa Kids and the Feather Cape and Dinosaur Land and all that. But, one can hope that maybe they do something like that. I don't know. Either way, it makes me think that maybe Rosalina and Super Mario Galaxy style stuff might be kind of the next phase of things. But what we'll be able to at least say is that we'll be able to see it in April. That's when it's going to drop, is April of this next year. So we don't have too long to wait. So anyway, before we move on, Serpent Knight in chat here says, I know that cartoons and 90s movies aren't that good, but I still miss hearing Mario as a Brooklynite. Yeah, Mario as a Brooklynite kind of became like the thing for everything. And just, I mean, it makes sense for a little bit of it, but at the same time, it's kind of just, meh, I don't know. It's just me. It's whatever. I could go either way with him. But
Yeah.
let's move on here to the next bit of news that we have, because again, it's a very Nintendo heavy night, at least for our main stories, and that's about Nintendo apologizing for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet performance issues. Of course, there is a big push to get refunds out there right now, given all of the problems with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I guess some refunds have been going through. People have been able to actually get their money back because of the level of performance issues that they've been having. Have basically been making the game unplayable. Needless to say, though, it looks like what's going to be happening here is that they had stated on Wednesday that they are taking player feedback seriously. There's an update coming out, version 1.1.0, excuse me, that's going to release, I guess it released yesterday. When did this story publish here? Let's see. This was the 1st of December. Yeah, so this published on yesterday is when the update went live, and that brought first season of ranked battles, one of the competitive modes, and also fixed an issue where certain music tracks weren't playing correctly during specific battles, but they are still working on all of these other problems. So there necessarily there's only a small patch to fix one little issue that I don't even think I heard anything about. So they are, I guess, trying to figure out what it is that they can do to fix. But is this for a mainline Pokemon game, a first-party Switch title? Like, where are we at on this, Kyle? I mean, like, it sold like 10 million units in 3 days. Do you think it's even one of those things that, like, you know, we should have even seen in the first place now? Like, you know, do we
I
even
don't know.
expect to
It
see a
kind of
good
raises the
update?
question: Did we get too many Pokemon games too quick?
Yeah, did they have their development teams stretched out so much with Arceus, with what was it, Sword and Shield, and with Scarlet and Violet? Like, did they stretch out too thin to release, and that's just what happened, or was
Well,
it
and
the Brilliant
I
Diamond
know
and the
that.
Shining Pearl too?
Yeah, and I know they're lesser titles, but they have all those mobile games now too. And I
Yeah.
know, what is it? I don't even remember the company that put out Pokemon Go. I know they run completely separate, but I'm fairly certain it's a branch of Nintendo that runs like the Pokemon Cafe game and the Pokemon MOBA style game that's on mobile and on Nintendo. So I feel like maybe their team is stretched out too thin. They've tried to stretch out into too many genres, and they've tried to they've started to try and pump out mainline titles far too quickly now, and it's actually hurt their development cycle. They've hit the same thing that happened to Assassin's Creed, that's happened to the best of them. And you spread yourself too thin, and mistakes were made.
Yeah, that's really what I'm thinking, is that, like, not only is it that they've stretched themselves too thin. I mean, a lot of the mobile games aren't being developed by the Pokemon company. It's mostly just
Hmm.
working cross-platform with mobile developers to actually make those games and to meet that level of quality that we'd expect for a Pokemon game. And a lot of those mobile games, I think, if not all of them, have actually been rather decent in quality and scope. And I know a lot of people really hate the monetization of stuff, but that's unfortunately the nature of the beast in this day and age, and has been for over a decade now. But even with that being the case, where we're at on a lot of this, though, is that this is a mainline console game that even, like, Video Games Chronicle here says, like, you know, they wrote in their review, they said the huge expansion and changes to the single player campaign are great. The size of the world and the joy of exploration are the best in the series, and the new Pokemon and battle mechanics introduced all sing. However, it's just impossible to shake the thought of how much better the game would feel if it was on more powerful hardware or simply ran acceptably on the Switch. So, and that's been the case for every other thing here. It's that it's like there's
Yeah,
still more talk about the power of the console, though, too.
I won't say that I haven't heard it both ways. You know, I've heard people say that they love the game. They love the idea that they can walk into a town. They can walk into any town, not just a town, any town on the map, basically. You know, and granted, sometimes it does require a little finagling with some of the in-game glitches that are very reminiscent of like Red and Blue. But that, those were the early days, and now we're talking, what, 20 years down the line, when they shouldn't exist like that. But even still, there are cities that you can go to right off the bat that you are going to be higher level cities, and you'll fight someone
Yeah.
that is level 5, and you'll completely stomp them, and then turn around, and right around the corner there's a dude that's level 60 that's going to pound you just the same way you just got you smacked around someone with a level 5. So it's a really unique experience in that aspect, and it provides a lot of I guess different ways to approach the game. And with the approach, there has been more glitches found, but I mean,
Of course.
it's cool that it opens it up like that, but at the same aspect, there shouldn't have been those glitches. This is a Pokemon game. This is Nintendo we're talking about. they don't release things that need massive patches day one, let alone a couple days or a few weeks after day one.
Yeah, that's one of those like big things that this even released with a day one patch, and I don't even know what that
Hmm.
patch actually addressed. I don't know if there were notes for it or anything, but it's it's still interesting to wonder about how exactly the updates are going to roll out and how a lot of this is going to be fixed because even that they put out this first patch which fixed a few bugs but it added in it not only fixed a few bugs but added in a whole new feature set like specifically the season 1 of the ranked battles, which means
Hmm.
that they added in a whole new feature set while the game is still suffering, while there are still problems. Like even this evening, like my kid went and bought it for the Switch, uh, and was going to play it, and I was showing him. It's like go online and look at the speed boost exploit that you can use in Pokemon. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "All you need to do is pair up a Switch Pro controller with your Switch, and hold up on the left analog stick on both, and you will run double the speed." And he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, go watch a video." And sure enough, like he's looking up a video. I had to go take care of something else in the house. Sure enough, he comes back to me. He's like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like one of those things that you're gonna have to try yourself now that you have it." But it's like
Yeah.
the fact that there's these other things that are going on, and they just still decide to release some content. But I just don't know where priorities really sit. Like I don't know how long it's going to take to see things actually fixed here. But
I
I
don't know.
mean,
Just some of the more minor bugs are what I don't know if they'd be minor or major at this point. With the scope of how many things are wrong with this game, but like the fact that you can fall through the map or your Pokemon can fall through the map, which can totally halt a match, and you basically have to go back to your previous save. Um,
yeah,
just
exactly.
stuff like that. It's little egregious errors that shouldn't have existed in the first place. That how did they slip past Nintendo's quality control? This isn't the days of the Wii anymore. And Nintendo knows that. They've had to learn their lesson. I mean, it hurt them a lot in the Wii U for developers that actually wanted to put out games for the console. And I mean, the Wii U wasn't the greatest console anyway, but that really, really hurt it. The fact that no one wanted to produce games for it because everyone was producing crap for the original Wii.
Yeah.
And let's not go back to that, Nintendo, especially with one of your biggest franchises.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's one of the key things I think with all of this is that like for anything that's been mainline, especially first party console specific, it's like to see it kind of suffer like this. And I don't even know if a more powerful Switch would have actually been enough to address the issues because you look at
Well,
the reason why I say that is like an example is like we've seen that with more powerful hardware. We sometimes see those bugs fixed, but not everything ends up being addressed, and you still run into those problems. Cyberpunk 2077 experienced those issues. You just today with the Callisto protocol that you ended up going and getting refunded, we're experiencing issues, and you've got a rather powerful gaming PC anyway, and
mhm.
still had to dial back settings. It's one of those things that it's like it doesn't matter how much power you throw at something, the underlying code is going to cause these issues to continue to come up or even come up in different ways that you didn't expect to now that there's more power behind it.
See, and
So,
that's one of the things I was gonna say was the caveat is and I shouldn't say someone. There's been a few people that since it did break street date and everything, it has been out on the internet for a while, so people were able to get a hold of the code and running on a 3080. Yeah, it runs fine. You don't have some of those frame rate issues, but we're also talking about a video card that blows the um SoC that's in the Nintendo out of the water by far. You know, it's a whole different ballpark of a system at that point. I mean, you're basically that's like 10 Wii's or 10 Switches, excuse me, instead of just the Switch itself. Maybe
I
that's an exaggeration,
no,
but you know what I mean.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah. So, Nintendo hasn't released any timeline on patches or updates that we're actually going to see for this game yet, though. So, just as everything it's like our favorite thing to say here is just it's a wait and see.
And I just really hope that Nintendo comes forward more and says this is what we're gonna do. But the one thing I hope they don't do, don't give me a plan, don't give me a roadmap or whatever. Just make good on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key thing.
I I think that the whole roadmap idea is run its course, and we need to go back to a day when games were done, when they come out finished. They don't need all the patches and stuff. And for a while, Nintendo was doing really, really good with stuff like that. But this is really a kick in the teeth for Nintendo, I feel like.
Yeah, if it was any other game, I'm sure that it'd just be like, okay, well, we'll see how it gets fixed. But Pokemon, it seems like, is one of those you don't want to really drop the ball on. But
Right.
that's that. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and just take that, put it in our back pocket to revisit here another day. And let's move on here to our last main story for this week, and that is about Microsoft and the Activision Blizzard deal. And it looks like that they're getting ready to offer some concessions in the EU space right now to be able to make the deal happen. And this is according to sources as reported on by Reuters. So Reuters goes on to say, they say Microsoft is likely to offer remedies to EU antitrust regulators in the coming weeks to stave off formal objections to its $69 billion bid for the Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard, people familiar with the matter said. And I guess according to what they actually listed here, it says Microsoft's remedy would consist mainly of a 10-year licensing deal to PlayStation owner Sony. But the licensing deal doesn't necessarily say what it covers. However, they go on to say what Microsoft spokesperson shared out there. It says Sony, as the industry leader, says it's worried about Call of Duty, but we've said we are committed to making the same game available on the same day on both Xbox and PlayStation. We want people to have more access to games, not less. So whether that 10-year deal is exclusive to Call of Duty or I guess anything else in the Activision Blizzard space is interesting to say. I can't imagine it would just be straight up Call of Duty. I would imagine that there's got to be other Activision Blizzard titles that would end up being rolled in as a part of it, but Call of Duty being the top one. I mean, like, what do you take away from that? I mean, this isn't necessarily that bizarre, right?
I don't know. The whole thing, they've been offering the 10-year concession for a long time, and for I don't know, for what, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks, Phil Spencer has been saying that they're not going to take Call of Duty away from PlayStation as long as there's a system to put Call of Duty on. Call of Duty is going to be on it. And when you look at things like interviews with and this is kind of way branching out, but there was an interview with Todd Howard earlier this week, and in it they talked about how games like The Elder Scrolls are like mid-level releases, and it's because things like Call of Duty are your tier 1 releases now. The games that they come out every year and people buy them like crazy. Your yearly first person shooter, your Call of Duty, that's your top tier game. And I don't know where anyone's getting off at this point trying to block the deal. I'm just confused at this point. I mean, even Activision has come out saying that if the EU would like to try and block it, or the FTC would like to try and block it, that they would like to fully support and come out and help Microsoft defend themselves and the whole deal. But I don't know, it's just screwy, and I feel like it's still Sony trying to pull at the fact that they feel like they're losing Call of Duty when they're really not. And really and truly, they're doing some shady stuff just by trying to not get the deal to go through, at least in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot that's being argued that just doesn't make sense to me. But I do like the point that you brought up about Bethesda and the Todd Howard interview, because I was going to actually bring that one up, though, too, is that, like, Todd Howard had said, is like they've constantly released Xbox exclusives or timed exclusives for Xbox. Like a lot of the Elder Scrolls games were either Xbox exclusives or timed exclusives that they would be on there for a certain period of time before releasing elsewhere.
Right.
And so now, of course, they feel the pressure to release a title that is more worthy of being like a first party experience. And that ends up being like Starfield, one that would, I guess, this wasn't necessarily in Todd Howard's words, but this is the way that it was taken, is that it's to sell more consoles, which that's what an exclusive title is going to do. You want to be able to play this title, you're going to need to do that. And that's one of those things that it's like Microsoft kind of has, but doesn't really have. I mean, sure, they've got Halo, they've got Gears of War, they've got Forza. But outside of that, you've got some of these other titles, like especially you look at the stuff that's in like the contention for like Game of the Year, like Call of Duty Ragnarok, or not Call of Duty Ragnarok. Oh my God, why did I say that? God of War Ragnarok.
Whoa.
You can tell where my mind's been at all because we're talking about Call of Duty. It's just Call of Duty Ragnarok. Yeah, here comes. That reminds me of something else. But here
Thor
comes,
with his M16.
Yeah, here comes Kratos calling in a tactical nuke. God damn, yeah, God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know why that popped in my head. My bad. Anyway, probably just because of all the Call of Duty talk. But no, God of War Ragnarok is currently ranked as like considered to be the game of the year, and is fighting really hard with Elden Ring especially. And I believe Elden Ring was a PlayStation exclusive, wasn't it? I don't think it came out on Xbox.
No, it came out on Xbox.
Did it? Okay. There was something about
Xbox, PC, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was an exclusive there. But even so, it's one of those things that it's like Microsoft doesn't really have something like that that's going to go up to bat for a lot of these awards or anything of such, because it's already been shown in their paperwork. It's been shown in their reports that they've put out there to be able to make this deal happen, that it's like Sony is the leader in all of this. And Bethesda's got to put out that effort, but Activision Blizzard's going to have to do the same thing too, potentially. But obviously, of course, that doesn't mean that Call of Duty is going to have to go exclusive to make the Xbox a more popular console or anything. It's going to be one of those things that something else is going to have to give. Needless to say, there's going to have to be agreements in place to make sure that they don't immediately go next day and it's like, oh, well, Call of Duty no longer runs on PlayStation. Sorry, guys, you're out your $70. You can't play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone anymore on PlayStation. It's not going to ever be like that.
Right.
So whatever's going on here to make these concessions happen, part of it I get, but at the same time, it's like, I can't imagine stuff like this happening. And Microsoft makes a good point. Microsoft wouldn't have expanded as far as they had with offering games up the way they do by, shutting people out. It would be neat to see some sort of like Game Pass partner where it's like maybe a game could go game streaming where you're using Microsoft's cloud platform to be able to stream your game using like xCloud as like the back end. But you can stream basically any game you want, like, tie in your Steam library or something or whatever else there could be. But
right.
I don't know. They seem to be on that track, though, to really make it so that way it is more open. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a business. I'm not into business. I'm not into any of the logistics or legality when it comes to anything. So I don't know. I guess I'll just sit around and wait for Call of Duty Ragnarok to release.
Call of Duty Ragnarok.
God, I can't believe I said that.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not going to live that one down. But yeah, as it stands, I mean, we did expect some concessions, at least from Microsoft on all of this. But right now, we're still waiting to see exactly what happens because the deal is expected still to close in June of next year. So that could all be stalled by lawsuits and further investigations. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we know what does happen next.
Do we?
Yeah. What happens next is the end of the main stories and on to the quest markers with Kyle. Kyle, bring us up to speed with those quest markers, dude. What do we have going on at the last bit of the news for this week?
So, in our last bit of news for this week, in the first last bit, a video game console for dogs? Apparently UK-based developer Joypaw is developing a touch-based game for dogs. The game utilizes a saliva resistant touchscreen and a motion tracking collar to basically play a whack-a-mole style game in which dogs can use their snouts to poke at spots that have more bubbles or icons such as a mole popping out of holes on the screen. And when they tap the right spot, a treat is actually dispensed at the bottom of the screen, similar to devices that we had seen, I guess, monkeys used, I think it was about 20 years ago in science experiments. The design was originally developed by company co-founder Dursim Adver, or Advar, sorry for butchering your name, dude, if you're listening, to keep his wife's overly active dog occupied during times when they couldn't give it attention. But he soon realized the potential to aiding dogs that are having cognitive retention abilities later in life. So could see more coming out as far as like dog therapy with video games in that front. And
Nice.
in our second quest marker for the evening, you could win a Steam Deck while watching the Game Awards. Every minute during the Game Awards, and I mean every minute, Steam will be giving a 512 gigabyte Steam Deck away. All participants need to do is, of course, the sweepstakes is only valid in the United States, unfortunately. So sorry, Canada, UK, and the rest of the world, you are not part of this. But you basically have to have a valid Steam login and had to have purchased a game or a product from Steam within the past 12 months and have the account in good standing with Valve. Upon registration, of course, all participants will receive a little nifty, cute little Steam icon of the Steam Deck with a smiley face on it that moves. So get registered and good luck. And in our last quest marker for the evening, Google starts the refund process on Stadia hardware. Google has tweeted that they will begin refunding customers who bought Stadia through the Google Store. Refunds on specific hardware include the individual controller and Chromecast bundle. It has not been confirmed that they it has been confirmed that they will not be refunding subscription fees to Stadia Pro, however. Google says all refunds should be completed by the shutdown of the system, which is scheduled by January 18th. Mind you, a lot of these refunds are occurring automatically. And of course, if you've got saved games on there, some companies are providing options or ways for you to retain your saves and put them onto Steam or other platforms. So definitely contact Google support or Stadia support if you're having any issues with that. Otherwise, check your bank account, because maybe you might be getting a little extra Christmas money from Google. And that is it for our quest markers for this December 2nd.
Well, awesome. So with that being the end of quest markers and the end of the main stories, that means that is it for the weekly news roundup for December 2nd, 2022 with us, the NPCs. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in and hanging out with us while we bring you the news from this week. If you liked what you were listening to and watching, of course, be sure to go follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, where the audio from this episode will be available soon after this stream is finished. Be sure to check us out on our homepage, anchor.fm/the-NPCs-podcast, to find out exactly what platforms we're supported on. And, of course, go and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform of choice, whether that be Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, you name it, we're probably on it. And, of course, be sure to check out our back catalog of over 3 years of content to definitely keep you busy on all the things NPCs. Be sure to follow us on social media as well, on Facebook and Twitter. And, of course, be sure to follow the channel here on YouTube by subscribing and hitting that notification bell, so when we go live with the Weekly News Roundup, you will be able to tune in and hang out with us. But with all that, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We shall catch you all next week.
Laters.